lot of parents certainly qualify for the free or the reduced lunches, but they're too proud to do so. Certainly too proud to ever ask.
As one expert points out, oftentimes these forms are on a brightly coloured piece of paper. They say free school lunch form. And for parents, it can feel like the form is effectively saying, I can't afford to feed my child, and they're having to ask their kid to hand that form to a teacher.
I know my father was. He would never have filled out that form. We threw it away. I guess he figured there was other people worse off than us. And I'm not here for a sob story. My life's amazing. You wouldn't believe if I told you.
Enough food down here in the magical long lady lamb.
It is a different deal when you're poor.
It's very hard to breathe in here. She's not looking at me. I wonder why she never looks at me.
Now I remember getting up to the front of the line and finding out that there was no money on my card. So you had this little card and it had 2 weeks on it. And your parents paid for a meal every day. But for whatever reason, very seldom. But I would get up there and would not have any more on my card.
That's actually for maintenance, that's for paying people to make the food. So when it's all said and done, you have about $1.25 for food. Making food, a meal that kids really want to eat, for $1.25 is super challenging.
It's today's sloppy joes, and my breath reeks of tuna, and there's lots of black hairs coming out of
Later,
my nose.
they would at least start giving a tray that was the same as everybody else. But I remember when George W. Bush was governor. When George W. Bush was governor, and you didn't get a tray. You got a special sandwich in a brown paper bag so that everybody knew that you were getting the no money lunch.
Well, lunchtime is among the worst times of the day for me. Well, I guess I better see what I've got. Peanut butter. Some psychiatrists say that people who eat peanut butter sandwiches are lonely.
Something famously illustrated to the ridiculous extent.
Which is made of solid lead. Bend over, Beaker, here.
Lunches were only $7. It's $1.40 a day. And when my dad made $19,000 with 2 kids, it didn't go very far. Every study shows that if a kid has a full belly, they do better in school. And every study also shows that there's a bunch of kids in school that don't have a full belly. Now, if you don't want to implement a free lunch program in your state, I'm not here to tell you to do that. Obviously, I think you should, but that's not what this video is about. Do not sit here and berate somebody who did do that, because let me tell you, if you did it in front of me, I'd pop you in the mouth, because that's bullshit. You have no idea what it's like to be the only kid who's not have any idea what it's like to be the kid who's carrying the sack.
It's hard on a face when he gets laughed in.
This month, the Wyoming Valley West School District in northeastern Pennsylvania sent letters to about 40 families telling them their children could be sent to foster care if they didn't pay up.
But it's a long day at school. And every once in a while, I just simply didn't eat.
The foster care issue just had me, I couldn't believe that that's what it said.
4 other Wyoming Valley West School Board members agree, as does school administrator Joe Muth. He signed that letter.
It could have been toned down. I don't know how to describe other than in writing, we could have toned it down a notch.
If it wasn't for the lunch lady, the kids wouldn't eat you. You should be shaking her hand and saying, pleased to meet you. She gives you a purpose and she gives you a goal. You should be kissing her feet and kissing her more.
There's a lot of kids, it was the only damn meal they had all day, and now you take that from them. You don't have to do it in your state, but you're a piece of shit, and you damn sure ain't Christian if you berate somebody for feeding poor kids.
Looking at me. She's looking at me.
We are using taxpayer dollars to feed my children. I have 2 kids in public schools at the North Branch High School right now. That means that the taxpayers are subsidizing me to the tune of $1,376.
Oh, well, why don't we just feed the poor kids? Why do we have to feed the rich kids? Because then everybody knows who the poor kid is. That's the whole point. It takes away that too. We can do 2 things at once.
By returning these programs back to normal, we can uphold our responsibility to taxpayers and the principle that aid should be targeted and temporary.
Sounds like something a Reagan action figure would say when you pull its string. Along with Take That, Welfare Queen, and Jodie Foster sure would be impressed if I died. And when the cut-off came, teachers who saw the program roll back firsthand can tell you it was rough.
You know, my grandmother always said, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. But she was also fond of saying, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you dumb motherfuckers. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Y'all take it easy.
Yeah, that is thousands of kids who aren't going to class feeling hungry, shamed, or excluded. That should be the standard in all 50 states.
Oh well.
You're using your paper not for writing, but for rolling doobies. You're gonna be doing a lot of doobie rolling when you're living in a van down by the river. Young lady, what do you want to do with your life?
I want to live in a van down by the river.
You'll have plenty of time to live in a van down by the river when you're living in a van down by the river. Now you kids are probably asking yourselves, hey Matt, how can we get back on the